Hello, everyone. You're watching You Got It with Warrior Woman 9. Welcome back to the show. As you can all see, I'm wearing my Halloween costume since this is the post-Halloween episode. The costume kind of didn't turn out as well as I thought, but it was a valiant effort. I don't usually make that much of an effort for Halloween, so I was proud that I actually paid money for a costume and I wore it for longer than 15 minutes. So everyone can high five to me. It was supposed to be the girl from Saturday Night Fever, but then the hair didn't work out. Anyway, it's a long story, but be proud of me. I tried. So speaking of Halloween, you all might be wondering how in the heck you are going to survive the holidays coming up with all the sweets that are just pouring in. The floodgates are open. Everything's pouring in from all sides. Gluttony is a thing to be celebrated at this time of year rather than avoided. So you're in luck because this week I have brought back Bailey Lynn Fitness to cover all the basics of how to enjoy the holidays and still stay healthy. So Bailey, thanks so much for coming on the show.
Thanks for having me.
I'm very excited to have you back. I've been dying to have you back, and I thought that this was one of the better topics because you are the reason why I actually take this kind of thing seriously during the holidays. Usually October 31st rolls around, and I'm just like, I don't care. I'm done. And the amount of candy back at home would suggest that I would like to fall back into that scenario. But old habits die hard. So I'm sure that I speak for everyone when I say, help! There's chocolate everywhere. What would your best advice be for somebody who's been really trying to be healthy for 6 months or a year, or even who's been doing this for a long time and just finds that this time of year is just a very difficult time of year to deal with? What would your basic advice? Here's some tips on how to get yourself in the right mindset to deal with this.
Well, I want to start out with a disclaimer that it's hard for everyone this time of year. So just because I'm a fitness trainer doesn't mean I don't also struggle with the holidays. I do, ever. It's hard. I am not above it. It's so hard. I think the best tips that I can offer are to remember that health is not about what you look like. So it's not thrown out the door because you're not wearing a swimsuit during this time of year, which a lot of people base their habits and their life changes and everything on either the way that they look, like it's swimsuit season coming up, it's sweater season, I don't have to do anything, which is not health focused at all. Health is year round. And my second point would be to not, the holidays make it seem like the holidays bring about deprivation.
Yeah.
You think that anything peppermint flavored isn't available the entire rest of the year. And chocolate is only available from October 31st to January 1st. And that pumpkins don't exist any other time of the year. And it really, really helps to stop and recognize I can go make this anytime. And once you remind yourself that there is no scarcity, it's a lot easier to say no to something, because if you think that it's only there for that meal or it's only there for this holiday, then you feel like you have to say yes because you'll never get it again until next year. And it's just not true at all. And that has helped me so much, because that's what I think too. And I have dairy allergies, but I tell myself that because it's Halloween, my dairy allergies don't count, and then I can just eat the chocolate anyway. And that's not true at all.
Yeah. You find out the next day it's not true.
Yeah. So just remember that if you don't have to eat the cookies or the cake or the pie or all of that just because it's in front of you, just because it's the holiday, you totally can. That's your prerogative. It's a time to celebrate. It's a time to be with family. If you don't want to be left out, that's a great way to celebrate and bond. But you don't have to. And you're not going to be missing out. And it's not that you're never going to have this thing ever again. It's just the tunnel vision mindset that comes with the holidays.
That's one of the things that I mean, it's spot on point, because I always get into my head every year. I'll have this list of things that I have to make that I can't make any other time of the year because reasons. And I'll think, okay, now I have 2 months. I have to cram all this stuff in, and I have to make it now because I won't be able to make it later. It's kind of the mentality of people who save all their dieting for like January 1st.
Yes.
It's like, okay, come January 1st, all hell breaks loose, and I'm not going to get to eat again for another, 9 months out of the year, which is, again, not true. Everybody gives up on that within like 4 weeks of having done it, or less.
Right.
So it, for me, knowing that, if I don't make X, Y, and Z during the holiday season, I can save it and make it during March or whatever. Or like, I don't have to binge eat now and then starve myself later. Why don't I keep it like more even keeled kind of a thing? So I totally get like that. That's like, that speaks to me. Okay.
Well, that brings up another good point, that a lot of people try to start over on January 1st. And if you're a goal-oriented person or a progress-oriented person, I like to put it in this perspective. Do you want to get, let's say, like really unhealthy and really out of shape during the winter and then start over on January 1st so that 5 months later you'll be back to where you started?
Mm-hmm.
Or, which is the cycle that most people follow, or you can continue to make healthy choices with a few exceptions because of the holidays. But most of the month you're doing well. You continue to move. You continue to put a little more vegetables on your plate than, mashed potatoes. And you keep those healthy habits throughout the year so that when you start on January 1st, you are not behind. You're just continuing. And then maybe you can come up with more specific goals, but you're not starting from negative. You can at least start from ground zero. And you'll feel better that way too. So many people get sick after the holidays because they just follow this binge eating pattern, and it destroys your body.
Yeah, that's another thing I wanted to bring up, because I wonder if one of the reasons why people, I mean, it's cold season and people are getting everything from laryngitis. I had laryngitis last January, like bronchitis, all of the itises are going around this time of year. And I wonder if people are more susceptible to that kind of thing because they've just, let their health go to a certain extent. Even with their eating, they're just putting in garbage and they're not building up their immune system with things that might be better to put into your body. I don't know any of the like statistics on this. I'm going to defer to you somewhat on that, but I just wonder if that's one of the contributing factors to this is like the time of year everybody gets sick.
Right. I don't know the statistics necessarily on how much the like diet and exercise would affect that, but it does make sense. There's less movement, poor health decisions definitely puts your immune system down. Also, just like the cold, the season, the stress, there's so many things. And I think one big thing is stress is just so bad for your health. Stress is so bad for you, and it's terrible for your immune system. And I know the holidays are already stressful for people, whether it's career-wise or family-wise or whatever. The holidays are hard. And America is used to coping with stress via food.
Yeah.
And it seems like a good outlet at the time. And it seems like it can help for a day or two or three or a couple months. And the food seems like it might be helping you, but it's not. It actually just makes it worse. So then you're giving yourself unhealthy food. Your body is being stressed by excess sugar, excess fat, processed foods, putting on weight. And your body can't function at its best. And then you're also staying inside, and then you're also stressed out. So just your body just gets slower and slower. You're more that sluggish feeling that you get at the end of the year. That crash even happens after the holidays. It's because you are putting more stress on your body, and you gotta take care of it if you want it to take care of you.
Yeah, I mean, the biggest thing for me, just with my whole diet, fitness, health, whatever thing that I've been trying to do. I mean, I've been trying to do this since end of May, beginning of June, and the hardest thing for me is always mentally keeping myself in the mode of, you got to take care of yourself. You can't just, throw off all restraint, even though it's Thanksgiving, you're going to eat, or it's whatever holiday it happens to be, you're going to eat. there's those days, and then there's all the days in between that you're just like, oh well, that it's there, it's that thing is there, I'll just grab that. It's always, and I don't have this problem so much when I've been consistently doing it, but when there is a holiday like Halloween, for example, and then you splurge on Halloween, and then the next day you're like, well, there's some leftovers, and then the next day you're like, oh well, there's some leftovers. It breaks that discipline that you've put yourself in, that before was like second nature, and now it's not there anymore, and it's almost like that in and of itself is a muscle that you have to work. So I don't know what your thoughts are on that.
No, absolutely. That's what I was going to say, because I think I'm talking about health, and I believe health is holistic. So I wanted to put a caveat that skipping Thanksgiving, skipping Christmas, putting extreme dietary restrictions on yourself during the holidays is also not healthy for you. I'm not saying skip Thanksgiving. I'm not saying skip Halloween. I'm saying don't extend it so that it's months and months and months of unhealthy eating. I think it's so important to participate in these activities. I have had food allergies where I can't participate in those activities, and I felt very left out during the holidays, and that's awful. So I think it's important to be able to recognize, but you can see which days it can happen, and choose the days where you want to participate, and then cut it off.
Yeah.
Because I could do the same thing. As soon as I break my habit and my shopping habits and my rituals, I start having a little leftovers here or there, or I just want to try this recipe. I'll just make it for a friend and then eat half the pan. And you just extend it.
You read my mind right there.
Yeah. So it's choosing the days that you want to be able to enjoy yourself and not think about it and not be stressed about making these hard decisions or making these good choices, and then getting back into it and taking care of yourself the other days, because it makes a huge difference binging one day a month and binging for 3 months straight. So finding in it, and that also that looks different for everyone. For me, if I let myself go too much on the holidays, I really have a hard time reeling myself back in. Some people can take one day off and then jump right back into their routine, and they're perfectly fine to go. That's great. I do have to give myself hard dates, like mark the calendar, Bailey, you are done, because otherwise I just start this binge purge cycle that is very stressful and very hard to get out of. It's a wheel that just keeps going.
Yeah. I don't know what it is about the holiday season, because I'm usually that person that can select a date. Like if it's during the summer, for example, I can select a date, 4th of July. That's my day where I'm going to eat a little extra. And then next day I'm done. And for some reason, during that time of year, I don't have a problem with that. I can turn it on, turn it off. I don't necessarily have to think about it. I just know that's the day that I'm going to enjoy myself a little bit more, and then I'm going to get right back to it. For some reason, the holidays, all of that is out the window, and it's an uphill battle, and it is a fight to the finish. And I look forward to the holidays being over in large part because of that, because for some reason, it's I don't know if it's maybe it's societal pulls or just people around you that are eating, or people get, I like to see other people happy when I give them, food and whatever. And this better than anyone. I love to make other people food, and then I also love to participate in it. And so that's why I don't know what it is about the holiday season. It's just so hard to get back into that. Again, it's all back to the mindset of before it's second nature. I can just turn it on, turn it off. Here, it's there's too many temptations. I don't know what to do. It's out of control. Yeah. I guess one of my other questions for you though is, are there some healthy alternatives to traditional food that people see around this time of year that maybe somebody who's trying to be a little more health conscious can, contribute when they're going to a party or when they're going to a family gathering? Can they contribute to having some other options that maybe are lower in calories? Are there any suggestions that you have on that? Knowing that you have food allergy, I know you've researched this a little bit.
Yeah, for sure. I have so many friends with dietary restrictions too. I would say the biggest thing for just easy tips for staying healthy is to bring yourself out of the tunnel. Bring yourself out of the holiday tunnel. Just for a second, when you're filling up your plate, just remember this food is going into your body. So it doesn't just taste good, because a lot of it is you look at something that's going to taste good. I want to have this much of it because I want to enjoy it for this much time. And that's kind of how you see your portions, and that's why you choose which foods you do when you're filling up your plate. Take it out of the holiday haze and remember, this is going in my body. Do I usually put this much food into my body? Do I usually put these kinds of foods into my body? How is it going to make my body feel? And that helps with portion size. That helps with what kinds of foods you're choosing to put on your plate. Like I said, really easy thing, put a little bit more veggies. If there's a veggie option, put a little bit more veggies on your plate. I'm sorry, but like treat yourself like a 4-year-old. Make yourself eat the veggies first. We have to be our own parents. The hard thing about being an adult is you can choose to eat cookies for dinner. You can choose to proportion your plate however you want, because you're an adult. You can do what, and that's hard, but you have to, just like we wouldn't let a 6-year-old fill up their plate full of just candy and gravy, you have to do that to yourself too. So just eat your vegetables first before you move on to the next thing. Enjoy the other things that are there, but before you fill up a second plate, do you want to eat the other stuff because it tastes good, or are you still hungry? Then drink a glass of water. Then ask yourself if you're still hungry.
Yeah.
Because that food coma, like afterwards, with that brick in your stomach, does not feel good. So it can be avoided by just bring yourself out of the conversation, bring yourself out of the haze, bring yourself out of all the delicious smells, and remember that you're putting food into your body. It's either going to give you fuel or it's going to slow you down. And it still counts. It doesn't magically not count because it's the holidays. So
I do think that is a really smart idea, to make yourself, because if you prioritize the foods that you don't necessarily like, or the foods that are more healthy for you, then you're, basically tricking yourself into, okay, now I'm actually full, so I don't actually need X. It's training yourself to realize you don't have to. Maybe it's not tricking. It's actually training yourself that you don't need that extra thing. And here's why: because you're already full. So here's the real reason you want it: because it tasted good. And
exactly, yeah.
I mean, and that's also a fine reason on when it's the holidays, it is a fine reason to have the second, but you just have to realize, why are you having the second, and is it worth it? And, depending on where you are in your diet and, how many calories you're able to intake. I'm not able to intake that many, but, if you're a larger person and you're able to take in more calories, I wish I was you. But the point is, I like that. I like the because it is a mental game with yourself. It is training yourself out of the habits that you have, that you learned, especially when you're a teenager, early 20s, and you're trying to deal with stress, and you just start eating, and you're like, that will fix it. That will fix it.
And it's the habits that the people around you are going to push on you. That's during the holidays. Your aunts and your moms and your grandmas are going to tell you that it's just fine and that you should eat.
I am that.
Have some more. So the peer pressure adds to that as well.
Yeah, it's a hard thing. The other question I had for you then, and this is actually the last question. We're already there. The other thing that I struggle with, and I'm sure that other people, especially people that are not in California and live in very cold climates, it's very hard to work out at this time of year. And I'm whining about it because I just got back from living in LA, and I'm struggling with the adjustment of not being in that climate anymore. But I don't really have a lot to whine about because it's not that bad here. But other people, like in the Midwest or on the East Coast, where it actually gets cold, I can't imagine people are going out and working out in the middle of the winter in Minnesota and whatever. So first of all, are there tricks to help with motivation to just get out of bed and work out in the morning when it's freezing? And then also, what would be your suggestions for what kind of workouts are the most appealing or are the most helpful that you can do indoors that, if people don't have a treadmill, for example, or they're just trying to, they just have a couple weights in their house or something like that, what can people do without having to go outside is basically what I'm asking.
You mean not everybody has 70-degree weather year round? I can't imagine what anyone would do. I grew up in Iowa. I know what you have to do when it gets cold. I did grow up going on runs during the cold, so I'm just going to start off with my trainer voice saying, you can do it. Mm-hmm. It is possible if you're dedicated enough, if you're training for something. It's not impossible to run in the cold, but I get what you're saying.
You can tell how spoiled I am, having grown up in California my whole life, and this is my perception of cold is moving from south to north.
To North California, yeah. No, I get it. No, sometimes you will get freezer burn on your face if you step outside. So, my advice is to start moving. Honestly, that is the biggest thing that totally helps, is just to start moving. It is so hard when it's cold, when you're stressed and busy. Like I said, everything gets wound up to the end of the year. Start moving. It makes the world a difference. Once you start, it really helps you get on the groove, and then you can just ramp up. You might start off really slow. I will say, when I lived in the cold, my workouts started off pretty slow, and I would just kind of chug until it would start moving, because your body is cold, and you got to get it warmed up. But there's so much you can do at home. There's so much you can do in a small space. I used to do stuff in a dorm. Like it's not impossible, but I do recognize that it's hard. I would recommend high intensity interval training. You can set a certain amount of time, different types of workouts. There's plenty you can do that are just body weight, requires no equipment at all, and you can do it in a very small space. It's something you could do in a dorm room, just tiny space. Just gets your body moving. I had another point I forgot. Motivation station. You will feel better.
Yeah.
You will feel better when you move. Oh, that's what I was going to say. If you don't have to have a great workout to have a workout. Mm-hmm. And that's something I had to teach myself just in life in general, when I'm tired, and especially at home when I was cold. Mm-hmm. It doesn't have to feel great. Some of them aren't going to feel great. And I know it sounds really discouraging, but the point is that just because you don't feel great about your workout doesn't mean you didn't do something. So there might be some days where you're so cold and you're so tired and you just want soup and a blanket, but you get your butt up, you do a workout anyway. Maybe it's 15 minutes, maybe it's 20 minutes. Maybe you didn't go as fast as you usually do. You don't do as many as you usually do. You still did something. It doesn't mean you did nothing. It's not worthless. It's not pointless. If you're laying in bed and you're like, oh man, I'm not gonna get a personal record today. Not feeling so hot. I'm not gonna crush it today. That doesn't mean you don't do anything.
Right. Yeah.
Plenty of alternatives. Yoga, Pilates.
Well, I really appreciate you coming on the show, Bailey. You're like one of my favorite guests to have on. I need to have you on more often. One of the questions that I didn't ask you, or I actually can't even remember if I asked you it or not, because this is how long it's been since you've been on the show. But are there fitness trainers online that you would recommend? I mean, obviously yourself, but are there other fitness trainers online that are like your favorites, that are your go-tos, or that have been really helpful to you? What are some of those that you might like to shout out?
I would like to shout out Bree Figgins for mothers. She is a very young mom, and she has a lot of really good at-home workouts, a lot of CrossFit workouts. She's fantastic because she has had to alter a lot of her stuff for moving to new places, being a mom, postpartum workouts, all that kind of stuff. I don't have as much experience with postpartum exercise, and I know it's really important to do it correctly, so I would recommend her to anyone who's pregnant or has had children at all. I'd also shout out Coach Mark Carroll, because he's my coach right now. I got his general population program, but he's intense. You follow Coach Mark Carroll when you are really ready to take it up a notch, but They'll make you strong. You get results. So it depends. There are so many resources out there. I would just say, in general, if you're looking for fitness advice online, if anyone says that their way is the absolutely only way to go, do not fall for that.
I would
Any trainer that doesn't admit their mistakes, any trainer that claims to have more knowledge than they're certified for. I'm not a nutritionist. I make sure everyone knows that when I'm giving nutrition advice. It's just for what I have done, what I help other people do, general health tips. I'm not a nutritionist. Anyone who claims certification and doesn't have it, be careful.
Yeah, I mean, I've had issues with various people. There's been. I was just telling my mom earlier that there's so many people that talk about how it's really important for you to work out when you're menstruating. And for all of my male audience, get off if you're uncomfortable. They should just
get off or get over it.
Yeah, get over it. You don't have to watch the show if you don't want to hear me talk about this. But this is the show where I'm talking about this. So trigger warning, get off, or you can keep listening like an adult. But there's so many different people that say you have to work out during that time. You have to work out. You have to work out. And I have debilitating cramps for the first 24 hours. And so I've always felt really bad because I'm just not physically able to work out through those cramps all the time. Sometimes I can and sometimes I can't. When I can, I do, and when I can't, I don't. But I always feel bad about it. And then I was listening to somebody else talking, and she was like, yeah, sometimes you just can't. Sometimes there are just days when you're not going to be able to do it. And that just made me feel a lot better because I really do try to work out even through the times that I'm uncomfortable. I really do try, but there are days that I'm just too dead. And when I'm in serious pain, I'm not going to do it just because I don't need to increase the pain to make it go away. I don't know. I feel like people are just super hard on themselves, and when you get to a certain point when you're so hard on yourself that you're just not doing it at all, that's a problem. For me, I've been having to learn. It's like what you were saying. Even if you're doing less, you're still doing something. It's better
than nothing.
Yeah, it's better to do less than to do nothing. Yes. So that's my thing. Because I've heard so many people saying you have to. Do I though? What if that does? Yeah.
It's hard. A lot of the reason I would say sometimes when I talk, I feel like I'm giving people dichotomies all the time. I'm like, you could do this or you could do that, and they're total opposites. And everyone's like, okay, well, your advice means nothing now. But it's because people are different.
Right. Yeah.
So I'm like, yeah, binge on the holiday and then turn it off the next day, or don't binge on the holiday because you can't turn it off the next day. But that's because people are different.
Yeah.
And people do require different methods and different training and different nutrition for their bodies because we're all made differently.
Mm-hmm.
And that's important to recognize. And for some people, the some is better than none method helps them get up and actually do something on those hard days.
Mm-hmm.
For other people, I wouldn't recommend some is better than none because they would take that every day and just do some. And then, you're not going to see results from just some every day.
Mm-hmm.
But it's because everyone's different and everyone's motivations are different. And that's why, advice is generalized.
Mm-hmm.
If you want very specific advice, work closely with a trainer or a nutritionist or a dietitian or a fitness coach, and they can help you with personalizing. I could help you with personalizing things.
So, Bailey, where can people find you online if they want to get fitness advice or if they just want to continue to follow your fitness career?
Are you going to put a graphic up for me?
I might. It depends.
I can make one for you.
Could. I am still Photoshop illiterate. So if you want, you're welcome to.
You can find me on Facebook as BaileyLynnFitness or on Instagram, Bailey_Lynn_Fitness. On Instagram. Instagram's the best way to reach me. Or you can go to my website at BaileyLynnFitness.com. I forgot I had that for a second. That's
her baby boomer impression. You can visit our website at
www.facebook.com/BaileyLynnFitness.
All right, so now you've got the entire generational version of where you can find Bailey. So if you can't find her, you are completely illiterate.
I don't do Twitter, sorry.
She does not do Twitter, so don't look for her there. But go and follow her on Instagram. I follow her on Instagram. You can like her Facebook page, visit her website if you're a baby boomer, and thank you so much for coming on the show, Bailey. I really had a great time and hope to have you back. Maybe I'll have you back like in January or something. We can do now that the holidays are over.
Yeah. Did you make it? Did you follow my advice?
How much weight did you actually gain? We'll find out on the next episode with Bailey. Hopefully, I'll let you know when I have her on, but that'll be potentially the plan to have her on, and we'll do a post-holiday episode. So, all right, I will talk to everybody on the show on the next episode. Bailey, thank you again for coming on.
Happy holidays.